Hello dear Sinceres, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Cynthia Sincere and I'm an astrologer and holistic coach. And in this channel we talk about astrology, spirituality, motivational, self-development and holistic lifestyle. So today I wanted to talk about how we can pass through the fears that blocks us and paralyze us, and this usually happens when we have goals or things that we would like to achieve, that we'd like to get to ourselves or to our lives. And these are fears that usually are more related to our mindset or mental perspective, though we can still feel them somehow in our bodies and emotions. And here I'm not talking so much about survival related fears like death or being physically harmed or dealing with physically dangerous situations. I will be talking more about certain types of fears that we know to be more in our minds, that at the same time we can see that not everyone has those fears, that many people out there have had similar fears or faced them or gone over them, or for those people seem like they don't even exist. Facing our fears is one of the most important keys to confidence, as the more fears we face, the more we tend to gain in strength, in resilience, and realize that they were not such a big deal after all. And the more ready we also feel to face whatever comes our way, as we will have kind of an inner power we gained from each fear that we face, from each difficulty or difficult situations we surpass or that we kind of cross over. And so I will be giving you 5 things that I believe will help you face your fears, help you conquer your fears. And this is our 5 methods. Of course, there will be more methods out there, but these are the 5 ones that I would recommend in this video today. Number 1, understand why your fear is a problem. If you have a fear and you wish to reach a goal or do something, but that fear is stopping you, then you have a reason to get rid or past that fear. And this gives you a certain motivation to then do something about it, to not just stand there and just be paralyzed by it, which then also gives you energy to act in the direction where that fear is no longer. Number 2, divide your fear into small bits, because fears are irrational. They don't have logic, but they tend to act as a defense mechanism for ourselves that tries to preserve our survival. And so writing down and analyzing a fear can help to realize that that fear is not such a big thing after all. And by cutting it into smaller bits and pieces, where we get to the root of the fear, can also help us divide the fear into small bits that we can then start to tackle step by step, by small steps, and which will then make it more easier and achievable. And then you can also set a small goal for each bite-sized fear of that fear, where you then face it in ways that are not so scary and so kind of intimidating. A bit like when you want to jump immediately from an Olympic swimming pool diving board is quite intimidating. So starting with a smaller one and then progressing it slowly to a slight bigger one and then to another bigger one after that, until you finally are ready for the Olympic one, is much easier than if you immediately try to jump up from the super tall one, from the super tall board. For example, is it fear you have of what other people might say or think about you? Then you can write down what things you think they may say or think that you are afraid of. And then ask yourself, what would be the worst thing that could happen if you were to listen or to hear those things that you are so fearful of? Would you die? Would you lose money? Or would you just actually feel hurt or have a bit of self-doubt? Or would you actually be able to get past that pain and just keep going? And also, let's say you suffer from stage fright or fear of being in front of the public. So a way to start tackling that fear, for example, is to answer the questions that I just mentioned, to make those questions, to start small, and then you could, for example, invite 2 friends to do a small presentation in front of them as if you were in front of the public, and then you can ask 5 friends and then get 10 friends, and maybe they're friends. Or then after that you can then volunteer with activities that allow you to be in front of small audiences. But the important thing is that you keep repeatedly doing something where you are facing that fear step by step by small increments, and then realizing that nothing happened. Number 3, visualize, invoke, and feel into your future self. If this fear is blocking you from achieving a goal or doing something you would like to be doing, then one way to get past it is to then use visualization, where you feel yourself as the person who has already faced and passed that fear and has reached their goal. You can take 5 minutes every day and imagine you are the person that has already achieved the goal or the situation intended. The person with the kind of courage, the kind of boldness, the kind of stamina that you wish yourself to be, that already passed that fear with the knowledge that has already won over that fear. Feel how it feels to be that person, how they now look at that old fear as if it was really nothing, and they are okay. They didn't die. They not only survived but are now thriving in an area of life that had been stuck before because of that fear. You can also visualize and do a small meditation where you invoke your future self that is wiser, successful, happy. You can try to ask your future self for advice. Ask them how they did it. How did they face their fear? What happened when they did it? How did they overcame that fear, and any of the things that may have happened to them, whether it was a criticism, a bad comment, or upsetting someone, or the difficulties you think right now that may come from facing that fear. Number 4, but what if things do go wrong? So this is all about mindset. What is your mindset? What would you prefer? To stay safe and never really grow? Or to grow in courage, wisdom, strength, power, and achieve your goals, dreams, and the life you desire? You can either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. One will allow you to become all you can be, and the other one might keep you safe, but you always feel vulnerable and weak because you're afraid. Life experiences, the good and the bad ones, are what teach us to be resilient, to gain skills, to realize that most of our fears are actually paper tigers. When you were a child, you were afraid of the monster under the bed, or of the ghosts behind the door, or some other similar thing. But then as you grew up, you kind of realized that there was really nothing to fear about these things. Most of our fears are very similar. Once we have faced them and passed them, we then realize there was nothing really to fear about them, nothing to really be afraid about. And in the case that something actually happened, the end result will always end up being more wisdom, more experience, more strength, more resilience, and confidence. And why confidence? Because you have learned to take courage and face most of what scares you. And you will realize that every time you have survived and that you have passed through that fear, that actually it wasn't all that bad, it wasn't all that scary, and you will be more likely to feel that you can face any fears that may come up in the future. Number 5, find your team of cheerleaders. So a very important way to face your fears is to find a group of support people who support you and that can help you get through that fear. Whether it's from starting from a coach in the area you're trying to develop, or a life coach, which helps you with your mindset to think in a way that helps you, that works for you. And friends, of course, that are there for you and supporting you and rooting for you to win, to pass that fear. And they can be cheering you on the situations where you feel scared and afraid, when you are facing those fears that you are keeping you stuck. And maybe your friends, your cheerleaders, end up facing that fear with you, and you will also feel that you are not so alone, that you have support system, that even if something happens, you will be okay, as you will have people helping you, and that will act as a kind of a safety pillow of sorts, smoothing up any potential consequences that you might fear or you might think that will happen from that fear. I also have a bonus 6th tip, which is to make a habit of facing your fears. We all have many fears, and by practicing a mindset of facing things that scares us in a way that will not cause us physical harm or physical pain, and preferably while we are also accompanied by a coach or by therapists, where we can work out our emotions, our mind, and these don't get affected in a negative way. We will also get into a mindset and a perspective that is much less afraid and fearful, that can be more bold and take more risks and find ways to succeed, and is more resilient and resourceful. The inner gifts we get are things that nothing can buy, and precious in the type of person we grow to become, and that is priceless. That is always a win. And so that is it, dear sinceres. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If so, please press like below, and I really want to hear from you. What are your methods to conquer your fears, or to speak about fears you have conquered in the past, and how you managed and how it felt afterwards? What were the gains that you got from facing those fears? Also, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and to check me on my website cynthiasincere.com for seeing the readings and offerings that I have there. I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. May the cosmos and the stars be with you.